So retail crime is evolving and so is the response. Matt Tierney from New Zealand Police joins us today to share key wins, current trends and practical advice for retailers. Hear how police are working with businesses to strengthen prevention and safety, and essential listening for retailers heading into the busy season. Kia ora, I'm Carolyn Young, Chief Executive of Retail NZ. I'm joined by Matt Tierney, who's the Manager of the National Retail Investigation Support Unit at New Zealand Police. Kia ora, Matt, welcome.
Hey, how you going? Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure to see you again. Look, let's get straight into it. Tell us about some of the great successes that you're seeing around combating crime from police at the moment.
So from police-wise, definitely the biggest wins are the localised beat teams and the localised retail teams that are within each district. The national team, we're also going along very well and putting out a lot of files to those districts. We've recently deployed it to Hamilton as well to help them with some of the issues that they're having down there. From a retailer perspective, some of the biggest wins is in the FRT space. But I think we're going to talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the things that we know is that you work with retailers on an ongoing basis. What are the key things that retailers need to do to help strengthen that crime prevention effort? Because if you can prevent a crime happening, that's the best outcome that we can hope for, really.
Yeah, I mean, the key to that is understanding what these offenders are targeting in your own individual store. And as retailers, you would know what is being taken. You've already probably taken steps to mitigate that without even really thinking about it. But if you turn your mind to the items that are being commonly stolen and make them more difficult, essentially, for an individual to get hold of them, it could be as simple as relocating it within store or possibly having display boxes out. It could also be something as simple as having active and engaged staff that are at the front of the store, meeting and greeting people and addressing them, because we know that offenders do not like to be dealt with. They like to go about their business with impunity, basically, and would like to keep coming and going from the store as many times as they possibly can without anybody speaking to them. So they can quite easily be defeated from just a simple interaction.
That's that good old-fashioned retailing, isn't it? It's like it's welcoming someone in, asking if you can help them, understanding where they are in your store and where they're hanging around, and making sure that you go and interact with them on a regular basis if they look suspicious. And that customer service is a great tool for retailers, one, to sell goods, but two, to identify those that are in the store for the wrong reasons. So it's a really great point. In terms of those crime trends, are we seeing any new trends, anything that the retailer should be looking out for in their store?
Yeah, the trend at the moment is definitely from a counterfeit note perspective. And I know that Retail NZ has previously put out some communication around the counterfeit notes. Unfortunately, they're very easy to purchase from a number of different websites overseas in 150 and in some cases $20 denominations. So the most important thing from that regard is if you're handling really any cash, scrutinize it really closely. But consider getting those really cheap UV lights because they're one of the best ways to kind of detect whether or not the note is real. As we move into more of a digital currency, retailers are handling cash less and less and less, so it can become quite hard to actually identify what is and what isn't real counterfeit currency, and it is out there. So just extra caution, really. That's probably the main one. That's a trend at the moment. Small electronic items are definitely a trend that are moving off shelves. Things that can be easily on-sold to other locations. And the key thing here from those small electronic items, and I'm talking about things like, it could be earbuds, it could be electronic toothbrushes, is the availability for police to actually record that serial number as a stolen item. And then if we go into a store and check, we can actually identify that individual item as being stolen. Or if it's at a secondhand dealer, say, for example, they can check the stolen item database against that serial number as well. So the crucial thing here is that we're able to identify that individual item, not just the model that it is from. And that does present a problem for most retailers, unfortunately.
So it's having that serial number and making sure you've got a record of it somewhere so that if it has been stolen, that's the number that's useful for recording that an item's been stolen, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And just going back to the notes with regard to the UV light, is it a very technical thing you have to do to identify that it's a counterfeit note? What would you be doing with the UV light?
Yeah, so there's some really good guidance on the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's website. But really, all you have to do is shine that UV light on the note, and it will flash up the UV ink within the note, and it'll say if it's a 20, it'll say 20. If it's a 50, it'll say 50, and if it's 100, it'll say 100. To date, we haven't detected any counterfeit notes that have had that availability to have that UV light in them as well. So if that doesn't have that, it's 100% counterfeit.
And one of the things you've often spoken about is that those $100 notes are quite unusual in circulation. So if you do see a $100 note, to take extra special care. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's very difficult to get $100 notes. They don't come out of ATMs. We can get 50s and 100s out of ATMs, but a $100 note comes from, you have to go to a bank. So quite difficult to actually get hold of, pretty rare in circulation, I would have thought. So they would definitely deserve extra scrutiny. But, at the moment, I think it's probably worthwhile to scrutinise all cash. And the time that it actually takes to do it with a UV light is minuscule. So you save yourself a whole lot of heartache, really, by just checking up front.
So we'll include the link to the Reserve Bank information in this webinar. And one of the things I think to think a little bit about is that staff training to do in advance of the Christmas season when we're going to be busy, making sure that, staff are really familiar with what to look out for with notes, and then thinking a little bit about your display spaces and where those sort of expensive, smaller items sit in your store, or those items that have been stolen frequently. Where would you put them so that there is more protection around them and you're more aware of where they are and anything being moved? Because once you get busy in store, you're going to have less visibility around what's happening. So doing some of that thinking now and getting that in place, I think would be really good. But what would be any other top tips, Matt, for the busy holiday season?
You just hit the nail on the head there with the training of the staff, because you're going to get seasonal staff that come in and may or may not have experience in the retail sector. Assuming they know what they're doing is not really appropriate in that scenario. You need to give them the right tools to equip it. There is tools available and training free of charge on the New Zealand Police website. If you just search retail crime, that will come up. Please, use that. The other thing to do is check the security interventions that you currently have in place to make sure they are working. Really important that if you've got fog cannons, that they're well maintained and they are charged and they're full of liquid and all of those things as well. But similarly, make sure the CCTV cameras are clean. Make sure the lenses are clean, say, for example, so they're actually giving a sharp image for us to prosecute someone. Make sure they're working. Make sure it's recording. All of those really commonly overlooked things. Same with your alarm. Test and adjust that alarm. Make sure that the sensors are actually working as well. So, because it's just as important to make sure that you're secure overnight when there's nobody in there as it is important to make sure that everything's secure during the day. But the key thing here is, and we hear it all the time from retailers, is that some retail staff are scared to come to work because they fear the consequences of people coming in and being violent and aggressive. And how we combat that is through training and through regularity of conversation with staff in those situations, to have a plan and to know what to do in those situations when, unfortunately, it does occur. That will go a great way to retaining your staff and also encouraging staff to come back as well.
Yeah, and I guess practicing that plan, right? Having the plan, then doing some role playing to make sure everybody understands their role, so that hopefully if something bad does happen, that you know exactly what it is you need to do.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. Look, thanks, Matt, so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to catch up and chat and hear about what the New Zealand Police are doing to assist retailers in tackling crime. It's a big job, and we're all in this together to try and make it a safer place to work and shop.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Look, don't forget to visit www.police.govt.nz to find out more details on some of the crime prevention mechanisms you can put in store. This was part of our Empowering Retail series, your go-to resource for short, actionable insights designed to take your retail business to the next level. Watch out for other episodes and don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, ka kite anō. Bye for now.